It's time for the all-new radio for small business. Get inside the mind of the business owner. Hosted by Eugene Rowe. Sponsored by HomeBiz. Connecting, capitalizing, discovering how to take care of business. Go.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's show, Radio for Small Business. I'm your host, Eugene Rowe. Radio for Small Business, hosted by HomeBiz.com. HomeBiz. Connect, capitalize, go. In just a few minutes, our first guest, McKenzee Williams, independent Damsel Pro with Damsel in Defense. Direct sales talks to us. Plus, later, we get into it with my co-host for the day, Ms. Dominique Sanders, owner of Ambience Consulting, master's degree recipient of business administration from Florida A&M University. Dominique, welcome to the show.
Hey, everybody.
How's your Saturday going?
Absolutely amazing.
So we're going to talk a lot about what inspired you, your business. So, real quick, what's some of the things that really keeps you going in business?
Ooh, the desire to succeed. A lot of times when it comes to owning a business, you know, you have that fear of failure. So you don't want to fail. You just want to do your absolute best and succeed. Wow.
Well, and it's going to be great to talk about that on today's show with you. I want to talk everything. Education, how you got started in business, motivations, and even recent successes. But first, we've got McKenzee Williams. She's an independent damsel director with Damsel in Defense. You've got to check this out.
Inside the mind of the owner. Radio for small business. Connect, capitalize, go.
McKenzee Williams, she's not a damsel in distress. She's a damsel in defense.
That's right.
Independent Damsel Pro.
Yes.
With Damsel in Defense
Yes.
Company. How's your day going so far?
So far, so good. I mean, it's a beautiful day here, and we're stuck inside.
Also, actually, we're at the Southern Women's Show.
Yes.
In Savannah, Georgia. And this is called the International Trade Center, is it? Or
Convention Center. I live here, so we just call it across the river. I don't know. We're across the river.
Awesome. Man, I definitely love being in Savannah. I love the Southern accent you got. Now,
Yes.
Are you originally from Savannah?
Not originally.
Okay.
Been here full-time 7 years, but my dad's lived here 25, so since I was really little.
Okay.
But I'm saying y'all, and we don't a soda. You know, you don't say pop anymore.
No.
Y'all fixing to stuff like that.
Gotcha.
Love it here, though.
Gotcha. So tell me a little bit about your background. Like you said, you were already doing that. You've been here since you were 7 years old. Where'd you come out of high school? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Born and raised in a tiny hodunk town in Ohio. Grew up riding horses, 4-H, all of that. Went to college at Ohio State and majored in real estate. And I started school in 2006, and then the market crashed in 2008, and I was like, why am I in real estate right now for $30,000 a year? And so my dad actually owns rental properties in Savannah, and I figured I could go learn it all for free, even better than I was learning it in school. And so as that was happening, we were making those plans. I moved down here. I got into property management with him. I was helping, do the office side of it all. Pay wasn't so great.
Okay. And
we had my now husband and I had our daughter.
Gotcha.
And so I was doing that, and then I was serving on the weekends, and I really hated it.
Okay. So was serving on the weekends what inspired you to get in business with the Damsel in Defense Company?
I had never had any interest in direct sales. People were like, do you want to come to my party? And I'm like, nah. I'll buy from you, but I'm not coming. And so looking back on it, that was really mean because they're just trying to build their business. But anyways, so.
And now the shoe's on the other foot,
right?
Right.
And so now I'm like, come on, come to these parties. But with what we do, it's kind of easier because it's something women have never heard of. It's something they have no idea about.
Right.
I stumbled upon this company online. I knew I wanted to get out of serving, but I didn't know what I was going to do.
Okay.
And so actually while I was a student at Ohio State, I was sexually assaulted by our neighbor who was also our friend.
Oh, sorry to hear
it was
that.
a group of guys. It's okay. I'm not unique. I'm 1 in 5. And when I came across this company, I was like, I had no idea you could carry a stun gun. Who knows that, And if you have one, how do you use it? What does it do? And so I figured this was great, especially not just for college age girls, but as a new mom. Georgia loves them some guns. guns. Like everybody, everybody here has a gun. But right now we're in South Carolina, and so my gun license is not valid where we're at right now.
Oh, really? Oh, boy.
Georgia and South Carolina have beef about gun licenses. So it's not honored. And especially when I had my daughter, I was like, I don't want to carry my gun with her anymore. And I never really wanted to take a life. Like, it was never.
Gotcha.
You know, some people are a little bit gun crazy.
Gotcha.
I'm not that one.
You wanted to be safe, but you didn't want to have to hurt anybody overly badly.
Like, if you want my purse, I'm not going to kill you. Like, here you go. You know, I'm not that person.
So, Damsel in Defense, that's a direct sales company.
It is.
You said you just stumbled on it online.
Yes.
Tell us about your experience, your search for the right business for you.
Well, I'm a very passionate person, and I knew that anything I was signing up for, I needed to really feel confident in selling and something that I would use personally. And seeing what they were offering, it was a company, it's only 3 years old, so it's a really young company.
Oh.
And it was founded by 2 moms in Idaho who had the same issue. They wanted to protect themselves and their children, and they didn't want to carry a gun. And so they saw there was nobody else offering it, and your only option is like a cop shop. And as a woman, you walk in and you're just like, I don't even know. I'm leaving. And so I was
it's overwhelming, isn't it?
Yeah, and you don't know what you're buying. Like, you can go on eBay and buy any junk stun gun. And a lot of people don't know that because they're like, I can find it on eBay for $12. And I'm like, you can find a Coach purse for $12 too. It doesn't mean it's going to
work.
Right. It's not the same thing. It's, they're made very differently. And so I figured if I could start selling this and prevent what happened to me and a bunch of other women I know, then it was a great thing. And I got into it kind of blind, not knowing anything about the industry. I signed up under the corporate office, so I had no mentor, no upline.
Wow.
And in the last 2 years, we've built like a really rock solid team in this region of about 100. There's 120 as of this month on my team, and it's something that's taken over. It's my career now. Wow. And so direct sales is such a good industry if you are a motivated person. And
you got to get out there and you got to do this yourself. You got to create your leads. And I want to talk about that, but I want to, if you don't mind, I want to get back to your story real quick about your days in college when you were assaulted.
Yes.
I
can talk about it.
Okay.
Yes.
You said you knew the guys that did it. So.
It was me and 2 girls. We lived together in off-campus apartments. And so it was all students that lived near us.
Okay.
And the people that lived beside us, it was 5 guys. We were friends. We watched football games together. I mean, you're in college, you're partying. Like, it's fun. And so that was just who we hung out with. And we were watching a game. It was a big game. And we had run out of beer. And I was in college for everybody.
Hey, party on.
We ran out of beer. And so he's like, do you want to go get some more beer with me? And I'm like, sure. Like, nothing out of the ordinary.
Okay.
And so we go over to his apartment, and everyone else was at ours watching the game. We had a bigger TV, which was strange because we were the girls.
Anyway. The girls had the bigger TVs than the guys. Okay.
Yeah, well, my one roommate's parents hooked us up. It was awesome. But I went over there, and we opened up the fridge, and there was no beer. And so I was just like, all right, well, that sucks. And I go to leave, and I hear him say, "You're not leaving." And I remember turning around, and everything was different. His facial features, his eyes, his posture. And it was like, in that moment, I knew that something wasn't normal.
Posture
it was like
changed.
different. Like, it was like, how people say like they look like demonized? Like, I was scared.
Oh boy.
In that moment, like, I was scared. And so I remember I looked at him, and he said, I have a girlfriend. And I did. That's why we were like, I thought we were friends. So I'm not going to blank you, but go upstairs. And I remember I was 20 and I didn't know what to do. And no one, even just 6 years ago, no one was talking about sexual assault or rape or how to fight. And so I had literally stepped out of my body and I just went upstairs. Like, it was a very surreal experience.
The fear itself, just the oddness of the situation, you almost
numb, because I was like, we're here alone. I don't know what to do. He's much bigger than me. Like, you're my friend. What is happening in this? Like,
so was that first thought to, comply just to try to make sure that nothing would go horribly wrong?
Yes.
Okay.
Because I'd never seen this side of this person before.
Gotcha.
There were no warning signs that I knew of. And I have never been in a fight in my life. I wouldn't know how to throw a punch. Like, what am I going to do? And so I was in my head in that moment. I was like, let's just get this over with so that it can be done.
Oh boy.
And I can go to the police. And so when he was finished, he told me thanks, and then he looked at me and said, if you tell anyone, they're not going to believe you. And he rolled over and went to sleep.
Oh my goodness! So years later, when you're living your life, everything is in the past now. You come across a business opportunity. You see Damsel in Defense,
right?
And I mean, do you think about this guy and you say, "Oh, if I only had that chance again," or if I could just stun him in the neck, or I'll stun him in the neck for you. It's his name,
absolutely. It's so funny because if he was in a line, if he walked by me today, I probably wouldn't even be able to tell you it was him. After it was over, I actually went to campus police. And he was right. They didn't believe me. And they interrogated me for almost 3 hours. And finally I was like, listen, if he robbed me, you wouldn't be sitting here asking me these questions. Please just go, get him. And nothing came about it, and nothing happened. And I lived by him for 4 more months, and it was very strange.
So tell me a little bit about Damsel in Defense. I mean, obviously you're no longer a damsel in distress.
Right.
Every time I walk by your exhibit at the Southern Women's Show, I hear the buzzing of the tasers.
Yeah.
And you guys got all kinds of cool stuff
so
over
much
there.
Fun.
Tell me a little bit about the company.
We are, obviously, we market to mostly women. We specialize in legal, non-lethal forms of protection. So our most popular products are stun guns, pepper sprays, and for children we have personal alarms. But we also have anything. We have emergency car kits, striking tools, things that safe cans you can use as you travel. You can put your jewelry in them. It's really a growing line of just, I like to call it being proactive, because I didn't leave my house that day thinking I was going to be assaulted.
Right.
And nobody thinks that. It's not, we're not selling fear. We're not saying without this something is going to happen. But the reality is 1 in 5 will be sexually assaulted. You probably know more women than you think that have been assaulted, but it's not something you just, hey, one time I got assaulted.
Really? I never realized that the stats were even that high. Even 1% would be way too high, right?
1 in 5 of us.
Oh, man.
And for college-age women, you're 4 times more likely. It's epidemic levels on college campuses at this point. And so, with me, it was a little bit different because it was somebody I knew. Okay. But with our products, if we can show you how to use them, how to carry them, explain the laws to you, in your living room where you feel comfortable to ask questions and not feel silly, it's something you're going to carry, and it's a deterrent.
I'm glad you said that, because for all the ladies that I know who don't want to carry any type of defense mechanism, their number one response, I'll kick them in the what. So I always say you may need a little bit more than kicking in the what.
I'm 5'10", I'm pretty husky. If a 300-pound man came up and grabbed me from behind, no amount of kicking is going to do anything. It's as tough as I want to say I am, I'm realistic.
Right.
But a stun gun that's 7.5 million volts knocked into his leg.
That'll make him pay attention for a minute, right?
Pay attention, let go, fall down, stun and run,
So when you're helping your customers and your business owners, what's the number one law that you have to teach people about tasers and stun guns and defense mechanisms that opens them up to your business?
It would be what state you're in, because there still are 8 states that do not allow stun guns or pepper sprays. Most of them are in the Northeast. Hawaii, Wisconsin are another 2, and then it's New York, New Jersey, some parts of Pennsylvania, Chicago, places that really need them. You're not allowed to carry it. It kind of lines
that you might think it should be the most, right? Well,
you're not allowed.
We won't get onto that whole political kick, right?
That's another thing. That's another day. But the laws are big, and also understanding that it's not just something it's not a toy. They're pink and they're pretty and they're something you want to carry, but it is illegal if someone just makes you mad to stun them.
Gotcha.
Can't do that.
Gotcha.
You have to be in a self-defense situation.
Okay.
But a lot of times women, will say, well, I live in a good neighborhood, or, I'm with my husband a lot.
But that doesn't matter, because your assault was from a person you knew.
Right. And that's why I always like to tell my story, because hearing statistics, you're like, oh, okay, I got it, 1 in 5, that seems really bad. But when you meet someone and you hear, I've heard story, after story so much worse than mine, and it'll be something as simple as walking to your car from the mall.
Oh boy. Give us a basic awareness that ladies should have, and even guys, really.
Yeah.
When they've got their Damsel in Defense stun gun, taser, give us a scenario where we should be on the lookout.
I have a story, actually.
Okay.
To be on the lookout, first, get off your cell phone. Stop walking on your cell phone. you're going to get robbed for your cell phone or hit by a car, or there's going to be somebody coming up behind you and grabbing you. But I carry my stun gun all the time. It has a flashlight on it. They all have flashlights. They all have what's called a disable pin, and it's like a little bracelet, and you wear it on your wrist, and if somebody yanks the stun gun out of your hand, they can't use it against you. And so I'm really comfortable carrying it. My daughter isn't afraid of it. She's just like, that's for the bad guys. I'm like, that's right.
She knows what it is now,
man. She knows, totally. And so I was leaving Walmart parking lot. It was a Saturday night, like in between 11 and 12. It was kind of late. And so I had my stun gun in my hand, just holding it as a flashlight. And I just had this feeling of unrest come over me. And, that sixth sense come over me. And I turned around, and there was a man about 20 feet back, but going my direction. And my car, there was nobody else's car around me. And so typically, if I didn't have my stun gun, I would have just raced to my car and locked the doors and been like, I'm glad I made it. But I had my stun gun. And so I turned around and stopped, and I looked at him, and he looked at me, and I held it up, and I set it off, zzz, and he looked, and he just turned around.
He decided to go in a different direction, didn't he?
Yeah, never looked back. And so not even having to use it, just as a deterrent, because a lot of times the people who are going to attack women do it because they think a woman is defenseless. And if you show that you're going to put up a fight, they're going to they're going to go find that girl on her phone.
They're punks. That's why they're trying to assault women.
Exactly.
So they don't want a real fight.
They don't want anything that's going to hurt them.
No, that's an interesting story. Just being aware, stay off the cell phone. When you're walking to your car in a dark parking lot, and making sure you have something at least as a deterrent, like a damsel in defense
You'll get it by the end of the weekend.
Every time I have to look down at your shirt.
I'm telling you, it's like when I first started, damsel in distress would pop up on Google when you typed in damsel, and now it's damsel in defense. So it's a movement.
Some good SEO,
awesome.
Search engine optimization going on as well. So that's pretty awesome. So tell us a little bit more about some of the products that you sell and how people can get in contact with you.
Yeah, absolutely. So this stun guns are my biggest seller. They're the ones I push the most. Pepper sprays are another really great tool that you can use. They're only $10. They have a UV dye in them. You spray someone, they're going to police can identify them for up to a week.
Oh boy.
Right. So there's no he said, she said. They can say no, and then their face lights up blue, and you're like, okay.
Gotcha.
Yeah, holds up in court. It's really great. The children alarms are probably some of my favorite, and we actually just had 3 schools here in Savannah on lockdown this week because someone was trying to yank kids into cars. And so sound is actually the #1 deterrent for criminals. That's why home alarms are so good, because they hear an alarm go off, they're like,
they think they're going to get caught.
Yes.
Or shot.
Or something.
Or stunned.
Something's going to happen. Who knows? But the children alarms, if, they're some of our most vulnerable is our kids.
Gotcha.
And legally they can't carry any
tool. Weapons, right.
Yeah. And so if you can give them an alarm and they're, walking home from the bus and some creepy person comes up and tries to get them in their car, they set off the alarm. Right. Immediately people look.
I know if they're in my neighborhood, as soon as that alarm goes off, I've got nosy neighbors.
Oh, yeah.
So my nosy neighbors are outside taking reports, calling police.
They're like, it was a white car and it had tinted windows. But if you think about when a car alarm goes off, the first thing you do is you're like, what is that? Right. You turn and look. Right. And so that's just the purpose of those. We have for toddlers, we have a child tracker that if they go outside a set range, an alarm beeps. And so, again, none of it is anything that's going to do a lot of harm. It's simply proactive.
Gotcha.
To get a hold of me, obviously, we're here this weekend, but
at the Southern Women's Show in Savannah.
I do have a website. It is www. It's kind of complicated. .mydamselpro.
Okay.
.net /
/KENZ.
So Kenz.
Oh, okay.
And I've tried to make a ghost domain, and I'm not technology savvy, so that's a work in progress. So mydamselpro.net / Kenz. My email's on there, my phone number. I'm not the salesman that is just buy it and then good luck. I always, if you have any questions, what's best for me to carry, I have 2 years of doing this. I've worked with a lot of law enforcement departments.
Gotcha.
I've worked with the rape crisis centers. I would love to talk to you. And if I know that there's going to be women that are I've never told anyone what happened to me because I didn't for 6 years. And, I have resources that if you need to, anonymously, I can give them to you.
Gotcha.
To learn to let that go.
I gotcha. Let it go and pick up a damsel in defense taser.
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome. Well, McKenzee Williams, independent Damsel Pro.
So much.
With Damsel in Defense. I want to thank you for your time. Have a great show here at the Southern Women's Show in Savannah, Georgia.
Thank you.
And we'll talk to you later.
Thank you very much. That was fun.
Starting a business? Join the Homba Biz Small Business Network. You connect and get info on real deals. Deals and connections that can help you increase cash flow and acquire assets. Everything from private equity to direct sales. Joining is simple and free. Simply open your smartphone and text Biz Blast to 77948. Text BIZ Blast to 77948. Standard messaging charges may apply. Here's to getting to know you better. Homba Biz Small Business Network. Connect. Capitalize. Go.
Inside the mind of the owner. Radio for small business. Connect. Capitalize. Go.
Welcome back to Radio for Small Business. I'm your host, Eugene Rowe. Radio for Small Business, hosted by HomeBaBiz.com. I'm on right now with my co-host for today, Dominique Sanders, owner of Ambience Consulting. Dominique, do you know that HomeBaBiz is actually an acronym for like home-based business?
Yes, I did.
And
it's Biz with a Z.
Biz with a Z, that's right. In fact, I didn't talk about this earlier, but you should text us your questions right now. Text Biz Blast to 77948. That's BIZBLAST, blast to 77948. I know one person who texted that number last week when we had our inaugural show on WSBR, Money Talk Radio, in Boca Raton, Florida. That was my co-host, Dominique Sanders, owner of Ambience Consulting. Dominique, you got to tell us a little bit about your background.
Okay, well, I graduated from Florida A&M University, and then I lived abroad in Germany for 4 or 3 years, I forget. Nonetheless, I was contracted for the military, and then I also worked for University of Phoenix, which is where I later received my master's in business administration. I traveled, and I had a great time, but then I felt like something was missing. And so I came back home. I flew back to the States, and I decided to start my own business. And I wanted to focus on people having a relationship with their money.
I got you.
I feel like that was a missing link. You see the cable shows like Mad Money and talking about investments, etc., but a lot of people are missing the key piece when it comes to having a relationship with their money.
Relationship with money. Now let's go back a little bit. I heard you say you graduated from Florida A&M University. You're barely in your 30s, and you've been overseas. You're not even in your 30s yet, are you?
I am 30.
You are now 30. So you've done a lot compared to what most college graduates would even think about doing in their entire lifetime. Right? So tell us about your experience in college, going there for a business administration degree. Okay? What'd you think? What'd you expect to do with your business administration degree when you got out of college?
Okay, so let's take it back even further. I was 10, and I knew that I wanted to be a businesswoman. I don't know if you remember how, like, the profile websites where you can decide which career best fits you. I would always answer the questions related to business, hoping that it would say, oh, she's going to be a businesswoman. So upon reaching the college campus, it definitely was a different experience because it's a historically black college. So I was able to see people that looked like me be just as talented as I am.
Okay.
And that was a really, really cool experience.
Gotcha. So when you went to the business administration degree, you knew that you wanted to be in business. Now, did you know you wanted to be an entrepreneur, or did you know you wanted to just work in business?
No, I didn't know I wanted to be an entrepreneur because at that time the focus was accounting. That was where the big bucks, or if you wanted to work on Wall Street, that's where a lot of the graduates from Florida and them were, the direction they were going into, or it would be sales, but I wasn't a good salesperson. But entrepreneur came, I'll say my third year, when I realized it was a lack of education for entrepreneurs. I learned that a lot of colleges teach people how to run other people's companies. They don't teach you how to run your own.
Now, what brought you to that? Because that's not something that the average junior is going to figure out just in the course of going to college. What was the thing that triggered it in your head that you needed to do something else?
Being aggravated in corporate America. I really wanted to work for this particular company. I won't name it, but I was working there part-time. And
you don't have to name it, but what does it rhyme with?
America. It is with America.
Okay. Is it a bank somewhere in America?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. It's a bank somewhere in America. Okay. I didn't mean to cut you off.
It is. But the frustration, and I was in a sales position, and I ended up not really liking, sales. And there were some things that I didn't appreciate. And I said, well, the only way I really could get satisfaction is to start my own.
Okay.
Be my own boss. Of course, my customers would be ultimately the people I'm working for. But it would just be so much better if I could have my own business one day.
Tell me about the first time you told a classmate.
I didn't tell him.
You didn't?
No, I didn't, because everybody was interested in getting internships at other companies. You know, it was more favorable to go on a summer internship and make $10,000 versus sit at home and try to figure out what kind of company you want to open one day.
So you kept your baby a secret, so to speak, and you said, I'm not going to let anybody steal my dream because I want to do something that's over and above, right?
Yep.
So come graduation day, graduation happens, your classmates, some of them go off and work for other companies. You started working abroad and started working on your plans to start your business. Tell us about working abroad.
Honestly, believe it or not, Eugene, I got the job via Facebook.
Facebook
via Facebook. So you just never know who's watching you. And I got recommended based on my reputation, just being the type of person that I was. And it was an amazing experience. So I just, I was doing the job at that time. Like I said, I was working for University of Phoenix, and it was okay. I was able to see the administrative side on the collegiate level. Okay. But it really wasn't my passion.
Gotcha.
The benefits were definitely traveling, France, Italy, Europe, just traveling all over Europe.
So you got to go do the Autobahn, you got to go see the statue, Leaning Tower of Pisa, and all that kind of cool stuff.
It was amazing.
Wow. So, and then you said you figured out it wasn't your calling. You come back to the States, because obviously I'm interviewing you in the United States. So tell us what happens next.
Well, I got home, and I knew it was going to take me a while to get started because I didn't have capital. I had the dream.
Okay.
But not the capital.
Not the capital. Okay.
So I really needed to get my feet planted, and I got like a temporary job. And then I just went on a ledge. I said, what do I have to lose? And believe it or not, it was actually some people close to me who didn't quite see the vision, but something within them was turned around, and they decided to support me financially.
Okay.
And I was able to have my first event to just introduce my company to the city.
Gotcha. Now, we're talking about haters because that's what we call them in my family. Okay. But let's go back just a second and talk about the capital, because you said capital first, and then you said part-time job. There's a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of business owners, a lot of inventors that just are not real with themselves. They say, I need capital, and all of a sudden I'm going to go out and pitch, the Shark Tank, or I'm going to pitch the Prophet from CNBC. But the smart ones sometimes say, I just got to get a part-time job. Right. What was the experience? What was the thought process of you figuring out, hey, I need to get the part-time job in order to grow my baby?
Well, I had a car, and I had other bills to take care of, so I had to be realistic with myself. Okay. And especially if I'm talking to people about managing their money or having a relationship with their money, I needed to be able to do that for myself, right?
Okay, gotcha.
So I also knew I didn't want my company to be in debt.
Gotcha.
And we still are not in debt. We haven't grown as much, but that's because I don't want to be in debt. Gotcha. I've not gotten a company credit card or line of credit or anything. So it's just a personal
You're
preference.
Basically doing what's called bootstrapping, right? You're building a business with your own income, and there's some idiots, business owners who will say, you should go get a business loan and start up a business.
It feels so much better when things are just paid for in cash. It's something about the cold hard cash. Okay. If you have an event, for example, my first event, everything was paid for. The facility was paid for. The food was paid for. Everything was paid for. So when we left and we turned the lights off after the event, right, that was it.
You were done.
I didn't owe anybody. Nobody was calling me later. It actually felt pretty good. And I knew I wanted to keep that feeling.
And that's something to think about, because a lot of times in the media, a lot of times, especially social media, whether it's television, radio, things like that, the glamorous part of that is that, hey, I can get a whole bunch of other people's money and start my business. But you said, hey, I'm going the other way. I want to be able to sleep at night. Right. And I want to be able to take care and grow my business. So that's pretty cool. Tell us about that first event. Tell us about how you marketed that.
Okay, well, I actually had a few clients that I was working with, and I said, well, I needed to really let the city know that I was here. Okay. Introduce the company to the city. So I really wanted it to be like a mix and mingle, meet and greet. Just, hello, this is Ambience, and this is what we offer. And just offer other business owners and just other people from the community to come and meet us, and hopefully, a relationship or something can grow from there.
Gotcha.
And I honestly just marketed through the community bulletin of the local station, which was free, and it was awesome. And then word of mouth, just different people that I met, I would tell them about it.
So a guerrilla marketing tactic, right? Find the free stuff and just tell a boatload of people about it?
It was no budget initially. I couldn't afford anything.
Right. The capital infusion of this week's paycheck hadn't shown up yet.
Exactly.
And you had to do what you had to do.
Matter of fact, I even lost that job like 2 weeks before the event started. And that's where that person who was a naysayer came in. So I believe in God, and I really appreciate that divine intervention to get the support that I got. Otherwise, it would not have been an event.
All right. So let's talk about the haters now, because you said the naysayers.
I did.
I like to call them haters. I just like the word a little bit more. Naysayers is definitely a good word. So what's the first time somebody said you could never do this or this will never work?
Immediately, the first time I revealed the baby, because when I moved back to the States, I didn't tell anybody that I was moving. I just showed up. And was like, hey, I'm here. But I know I would have gotten some feedback that I didn't really want to hear from relatives and friends. So I just kind of had to sneak attack. Okay. But I knew if I had just gotten home, I really didn't have much. I didn't even have a full-time job at the time. You know, who am I to try to start a business? Okay. So the minute I said, you know, I have this business and this is what I'm interested in doing, having this event, and I want food, and I want to have the event at this hotel and all that. A lot of people who didn't have the vision that I did were kind of like, okay, so where's this money coming from?
Gotcha. So they started thinking about your current situation. Right. And they started thinking about the stuff that they could see. Right. But they didn't have necessarily that inner vision. Right. So how'd you overcome that?
I just did what I needed to do. I was told, you know, by my grandmother, who was my biggest inspiration, to just paint my own self-portrait. And I've done that, and I just do what I'm going to do. If I fail, okay. If I succeed, better. That's you only get one life to live.
Maybe you got 2 or 3 tips that you could give us about practical situations where you deal with a hater and you just keep going.
Well, first you have to be true to you. And in reference to that, like I said, I didn't tell anybody in college. I didn't tell anybody before I started my company, because I wanted to make sure it was something that I wanted. Gotcha. You know, I wanted to, from the tip of my toe to the top of my head, I wanted to make sure that I would live, breathe, and sleep it. Okay. I mean, it was my vision. Okay. That's the first thing.
I want to hear number 2, and I want to hear number 3. We're going to do that when we come back from the break. We're going to talk with Dominique Sanders, owner of Ambience Consulting, just a little bit more right here on radio for small business, hosted by homeabiz.com.
Starting a business? Join the HomeaBiz Small Business Network. You connect and get info on real deals. Deals and connections that can help you increase cash flow and acquire assets. Everything from private equity to direct sales. Joining is simple and free. Simply open your smartphone and text BizBlast to 77948. Text BIZBlast to 77948. Standard messaging charges may apply. Here's to getting to know you better. HomeaBiz Small Business Network. Connect. Capitalize. Go.
Inside the mind of the owner. Radio for small business. Connect. Capitalize. Go.
All right, we're back to Radio for Small Business. I'm your host, Eugene Rowe, sponsored by homeabiz.com. They're our sponsors. We love them. Dominique Sanders, owner of Ambience Consulting, is in the studio with us today. Dominique, did you know that HomeaBiz is an acronym for home-based business?
Yes, and it has a Z on the end.
Ah, see, look at that. You remember from the last break.
Yes.
So we're talking to Dominique Sanders about how she deals with naysayers and haters. We talked about your first tip about how to deal with them. What's the next thing that you do when it comes to people who tell you that you can't do what your passion is?
Do your research, definitely. Whatever business industry you want to go into, you want to be the expert. You want to be the best in whatever it is, whatever product or service you're offering to your customer.
Because the family and friends, they're like, hey, what do you know about XYZ? Exactly. What do you know about window tinting? What do you know about cleaning carpets? You know, especially if it's your mom. If it's my mom, she's going to say, you didn't even clean our carpets when you were growing up. I know you don't know anything about anybody else's carpets, correct? Right. So that's interesting. You know, I've been actually having fun talking to you. Dominique is actually my guest and my guest co-host for today on the Radio for Small Business. We've been having a lot of fun. And actually, you've got some pretty cool tips when it comes to business owners for tax season, too.
Absolutely.
I want to get into that in just a second. We're going to go take a quick break. We'll be right back with Dominique's 5 tips for small businesses during tax season. All right?
All right.
Starting a business? Join the HomeaBiz Small Business Network. You connect and get info on real deals. Deals and connections that can help you increase cash flow and acquire assets. Everything from private equity to direct sales. Joining is simple and free. Simply open your smartphone and text BizBlast to 77948. Text BIZ-BLAST to 77948. Standard messaging charges may apply. Here's to getting to know you better. Homba Biz Small Business Network. Connect. Capitalize. Go.
Inside the mind of the owner. Radio for small business. Connect. Capitalize. Go.
HomeBiz.com sponsors Radio for Small Business, and I'm your host, Eugene Rowe, back for another edition. Hope everyone's having a great Saturday morning. I'm in the studio with my guest and co-host, Dominique Sanders, owner of Ambience Consulting. Well-read, well-traveled, a great person all around. And, well, Dominique, you're a business owner, so you know that this time of year, it's tax season, depending on how you file your taxes. But it's tax season, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
And you've got some pretty cool tips for businesses during tax season.
I do, actually. If I could just take a minute to do that.
What's the number one tip?
Number one, make sure to have a good bookkeeping system in place. For example, a QuickBooks or even a FreshBooks for smaller businesses.
Okay. FreshBooks, now that's something you can just get online. And if I'm not mistaken, it's barely, $20 a month or something?
Yeah, and this is targeted toward sole proprietorships, smaller type businesses.
Okay. So with a bookkeeping system, that allows you to lay out, what you have to spend out, what you have to bring in, especially if your only capital source is from that part-time job that we talked about earlier. So have you heard anybody, or have you by chance know of any instances of maybe people who didn't set up that bookkeeping system and 4 or 5 years later they maybe got burned?
Not 4 or 5 years later, actually like 8 months later,
when
the state
man.
reached out and said, hey, you didn't file your taxes, so either give that information to us within this short time frame or pay us $1,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it kind of pays to do that bookkeeping thing for us.
Absolutely.
What's your next tip?
The second one was establish a relationship with a certified public accountant. And this is really critical. You don't necessarily have to hire the CPA to do your bookkeeping for you, but at least to get the tips and pointers when it comes to certain expenses going into this bucket versus that bucket.
Okay.
When it comes to taxing, it definitely could save some money.
Now, and that's something that we had to do in one of our businesses a few years back, establish that relationship, because in the daunting part was trying to figure out what CPA is the best CPA, because they're not all created equal.
They're not.
So any tips there about how to find the right CPA, or maybe just, go with your gut?
It really just boils down to doing research. Definitely reach out to the Better Business Bureau. Also, if you have other business owners that you can talk to them and see if, referrals are always good ways to see,
Gotcha.
who could be potentially good CPA.
So first tip, bookkeeping. Second tip, relationship with CPA. Number 3.
Use the company card for purchases and keep track of all expenses. And this is really critical.
Ooh.
I can see how a lot of businesses, especially small business owners, they just forget. You make 4 purchases in a day, and then you go and you conduct your business, and you forget to record what the purchases were for.
Yes. And that's major, too, because I know business owners, they were in direct sales, and they were sole proprietors at the time. They didn't do bookkeeping for years, literally. They didn't keep up with expenses years, literally. And then, IRS, I won't say the letters, but, I myself have a certain relationship with this entity, so we just decided to name the entity Iris because the other official name would be too many syllables to use. So Iris is 2 syllables. So Iris, eventually, when they come around, they're paper-based. Yeah. They're numbers-oriented. They don't care if you can remember the story from the event that you did and how many. They want to see the easiest way to take care of Iris and satisfy Iris that I found, in my opinion, is to just have it documented, right? And
it could be very scary for business owners when they have the IRS call or send an email.
I was talking about this.
I just assume, it's really scary, frightening. So to prevent the nightmare,
definitely keep track of those expenses. Yep. I'm liking these. We got 1, 2, and 3. Do you have any more?
Yeah, I have 2 more actually.
Cool. What's number 4?
Number 4 was set up a retirement account plan inside of your company, and actually these plans are tax deductible. Now I didn't know about this one. Yeah, especially when you have younger small business owners like myself. A lot of times we don't think about retiring
Right.
and building up a retirement account within our own business.
Gotcha.
But if it's going to help save us some money,
hey, why not, right?
Why not, right?
Okay, all right. Retirement account. What's the last one?
And lastly, put money aside throughout the year from the company's earnings to pay estimated taxes. So if you sort of kind of allocate money, from what the company earns, it just will make life a little bit easier when it comes time for tax time.
Yeah, and it might not even be a lot of money. One of our friends, he's also a direct salesperson, and he and his wife, they one year had a very good year.
Okay.
And they ended up jumping from making $20,000 a year to $60,000 in a single year.
Nice.
Problem was, they didn't account for increased taxes.
Wow.
They were sole proprietors, so all that money went to their bottom line, went to their W-2 earnings, and yes, so he had to do something creative. That was legal, I think we should say.
Of course.
Nevertheless, it could be a struggle. So let's recap them again. 5 tips for business owners during tax season.
All right, you want to make sure you have a good bookkeeping system. You want to establish a relationship with a certified public accountant. Make sure you use the company card for purchases and keep track of all expenses. And then set up a retirement account. This definitely could be tax deductible. And lastly, put aside money throughout the year from the company's earnings to pay estimated taxes.
Awesome. Well, Dominique Sanders is owner of Ambience Consulting. She's here with us today. She's also our co-host on Radio for Small Business, sponsored by HomeBiz.com. When we come back, we've got some more great stuff for you. Plus, I got a treat for you. Okay?
All right.
All right, back in a second.
Starting a business? Join the HomeBiz Small Business Network. You connect and get info on real deals. Deals and connections that can help you increase cash flow and acquire assets. Everything from private equity to direct sales. Joining is simple and free. Simply open your smartphone and text BizBlast to 77948. Text BIZBlast to 77948. Standard messaging charges may apply. Here's to getting to know you better. HomeBiz Small Business Network. Connect. Capitalize. Go.
Inside the mind of the owner. Radio for small business. Connect. Capitalize. Go.
It's Radio for Small Business Saturday mornings. I'm your host, Eugene Rowe. HomeBiz Radio for Small Business, hosted by HomeBiz.com. We've got owner of Ambience Consulting, Dominique Sanders, in the studio with us this morning. Dominique, we've been having fun so far.
Had an amazing time. I do have a question for you, Eugene.
Yeah, what's up?
When it comes to the Radio for Small Business, how did you get started here?
Well, that's the crazy part, because I've actually always had the entrepreneur bug myself. Okay. My wife and I are actually in direct sales. Okay, we're direct sales owners. We've been in business for about 13 years now. But even before that, I would be the guy that worked at a radio station and would promote parties and try to promote concerts and promote different events. Mm-hmm. And I always liked being on that end of the business.
Wow.
Because when you walk into an event and you see 1,000 people go in and you start counting $80 a ticket, and you're like, hey, wait a minute.
Some money.
Wait a minute, somebody made $80,000.
Right.
So that's really what attracted me to that. And fast forward, direct sales started speaking to me. And then eventually in, I think it was 2010, maybe 2011, I got laid off from my full-time job because as most people are doing, they're building a business in their spare time while they still have a full-time gig. And I'm actually no exception to that rule. I got laid off in 2010, didn't know what to do, and I realized that a lot of the information that was out there for business owners was just a sales pitch. And I wanted to actually give value to people who are looking to start a business, value to people who are looking to invest in businesses, value to people who actually already own businesses. Okay. And that's how HomeBiz.com got started. The Radio for Small Business show came as a result of that. And that's why the slogan for Radio for Small Business is Connect, Capitalize, Go. We want to actually provide the connections and the networking opportunities for everyone in the community. And then when we say capitalize, it actually has a double meaning. You can capitalize financially or just capitalize on opportunities and capitalize and build on networks and things like that. And then just go. Just get it done, right?
Right.
Connect, capitalize, go, man.
Go and make some money.
And gotta make some money.
But you said something very critical. Of course, we're in two different worlds. You mentioned direct sales.
Okay.
Okay, so I have a big frown.
Okay. I see the frown. I see the frown.
Direct sales.
Yeah, even though I hear a smile, I'm seeing a frown.
Yeah, Yeah, direct sales, no. What are some pros and cons of direct sales? I had a negative experience with direct sales.
Okay.
So I don't want to knock direct sales for someone who potentially would want to get involved with it, but come on, kind of sell me on that. What?
Well, and the funny part is that the best way to actually tell somebody about direct sales is not to sell them. Okay. That's the first thing. And yes, I can...
Maybe that was my error.
Maybe, everybody starts at their own pace, right? Okay. Because the thing about direct sales, most people have heard of it as network marketing. Most people have heard of it as multi-level marketing. But direct sales is kind of the 2015, the new century way that we say it. And part of the reason that most people had a bad experience is, you think about it, most people who get into direct sales, on Thursday, they were employees. And then on Friday, they became quote-unquote business owners, right?
Okay.
And so they go about, I believe they go about attacking their business as if they're employees.
Yeah.
Okay? And they make all kind of wild claims.
Oh, that's exactly what happened to me. There was no buffer. There was no preparation. It was just
nothing,
own your own business tomorrow.
Own your own business. You can make $1 million next week. And it probably isn't going to happen that easily. If it does, I want to be in your business. I doubt it will. But yeah, you're right, though. One of the biggest cons is that. One of the, not con as in pulling a con, but pros versus cons. Another big con that people have in their mind is that it takes a lot of money to get started. And then, not to mention that some people who start multi-level marketing businesses or direct sales businesses, they're running basically smoke and mirrors, Ponzi schemes. So you want to stay out on the lookout for that.
How can we tell the difference between a legit direct sales versus a scheme? There's a lot of schemes out there.
There's a couple of key ways. Now there's something called the Direct Selling Association. In fact, it's the right name, DSA.org. Okay. I don't think it's DSA.gov, but I think it's DSA.org. And companies that are actually members of the DSA actually have to meet certain guidelines and certain expectations before they can say that they're certified or affiliated or a member of the group. Mm-hmm. And some of those things are making sure that the cost is not very high, making sure that the return policies are in place, making sure that they're doing good business. Obviously, you can always check the Better Business Bureau if that business is listed in your community or on the Better Business Bureau website. That's always a good place to start. Okay. The next thing I also tell people to go to is ftc.gov.
Okay.
Federal Trade Commission, man. I mean, the rules are right out there.
Yeah.
And the great thing about FTC is that they have rules laid out about what they believe is a good business, direct sales, and a not so good business for direct sales. Mm-hmm. So without trying to figure out, whether a business is good, you can go see if they even meet the guidelines for that first. And then once you start to evaluate a business, there's 3 key things that I always tell people to look for.
Okay. What are those 3?
The first one is the entry level cost. Okay. I would say, when you talk about direct sales, anything that's very expensive or has a very high initial rate to get into, I would suggest that you look at it very closely. That one thing alone doesn't mean that it's illegal, but it's one of those things that the FTC says you may want to be on the lookout for.
So what's a good range?
Most things these days, especially if it's direct selling, is anywhere from $200 to a couple $1,000. Okay. Just because it's closer to $2,000 doesn't mean it's, like I said, an illegitimate business. But there just may be more inventory to purchase. I don't have any problem. I can't do anything about it. You can't do anything about it. And the businesses have to meet those hurdles in order to be legitimate businesses. The second thing is the compensation plan. You actually want to make sure that people get paid for moving products and services.
Right.
This is key because if people don't get paid to move an actual product or service, the code word for that is Ponzi.
Exactly. My favorite show is American Greed. I see it constantly, and so that you said something key there.
Yes, there has to be products and services moving through the business, actual products and services, not a promise of a product or et cetera, et cetera. But I don't want to get too, technical and things like that, but there must be a product or a service moving from one place to another, from a business owner to a customer. And if you go to the FTC website, you'll actually see that they really frown upon a business if the only products that are moving are from personal consumption. Okay. So you may want to think about that too. That'll give you another insight in evaluating a direct sales opportunity.
Okay, so I still frown, but I'm sure there are listeners out there that can benefit. So what are some pros there? I mean, we talked about cons, but what are some pros to being in business for yourself in representing this direct sales arena.
Gotcha. Well, Robert Kiyosaki, writer of the best-selling book Rich Dad, Poor Dad, talks about the importance of direct sales and multi-level marketing. The great thing about it is that you can typically start for very low overhead. That's the major thing. Second thing is that you can typically build the business at your own pace because you started for low overhead, and because it takes low overhead or low budget in order to run every month, you don't have to, go faster than you're ready to go.
Right.
So those are the two biggest pros. And then 3, these organizations typically have training arms that will teach you how to become a business owner and not just sign a piece of paper and say, I'm a business owner, but how to think like a business owner. So those are the 3 biggest pros that I can think of.
I think that, the third one hit the nail on the head. When it comes to my experience in direct sales, I didn't have the support. And you mentioned training and support, and that's very critical. Going, like you said earlier, going from being an employee to a business owner in one day.
Right.
You need that. You need a bridge. You need support behind you as well.
Exactly. So that's just a little bit about our background. I love direct sales. I've been in it for ever, it seems like now, 13 years, and I won't, we won't bring up the name of the company that I work with, but it's a very reputable company. I really do love it. If you got questions about, what we do, we're not going to talk about it on air because why? I'm not just trying to build a show to sell people stuff.
Right.
Okay. If you got a question about it, I want to get to know you. I want to get to know you. I want to build the right relationships. That's why the slogan for this show is connect, capitalize, go. Let's connect first and see if there's a possibility for us to grow into the future. So,
well, this has been extremely exciting.
You know what? You're actually a pretty good interviewer.
Thank you.
Maybe we should just give the show to you.
No. I learned from you.
I can stay in my bed on Saturday mornings.
I learned from you.
But I really did have fun. And just in case you're just tuning in to Radio for Small Business, we've had Dominique Sanders, owner of Ambience Consulting, with us all morning. Yep. Had a great time right here on Radio for Small Business. You guys got to check her out because she's got a lot of great things going. You do a lot of stuff in the community too. I do actually. In addition to helping people manage their own finances, I started a summer camp. Last year was our first year. Wow. This year we're revving up to be with the kids again. Very exciting. So that's got to take a lot of patience in itself. Yes, it does. Lots of skill. You probably learned most of your negotiation techniques working with the kids. From kids. That's awesome. Well, once again, thanks for coming to the show. Thanks for being in the studio with us today. Yes. We had fun right here. Next week on Radio for Small Business, we got some great guests. Plus, I've got a couple other businesses that are raising capital via angel investors and other things like that. So you definitely want to tune in next Saturday morning, 10 a.m., homeabiz.com, Radio for Small Business. I'm your host, Eugene Rowe. Have a great weekend. Starting a business? Join the HomeaBiz Small Business Network. You connect and get info on real deals. Deals and connections that can help you increase cash flow and acquire assets. Everything from private equity to direct sales. Joining is simple and free. Simply open your smartphone and text BizBlast to 77948. Text BIZ-BLAST to 77948. Standard messaging charges may apply. Here's to getting to know you better. HomeaBiz Small Business Network. Connect. Capitalize. Go.